Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here with Stats with Jack, pre-recorded this time, so it should be a bit shorter, a bit nicer to consume. A nice, cohesive package for y'all. So let's get this started. My apologies. I premiered this earlier, but I actually, when I reached the Spurs section, I forgot to, bring up the shared screen again. So I was basically just talking stats, and you guys weren't able to see anything. So I had to take down that video. Now I'm going to remake this. So hopefully, be a bit better maybe this time around, or maybe the first take is always better. Who knows? But cold hard facts: Tottenham have won all four of their home games against Brighton. The last English club Spurs won 3 games against in the same season was Aston Villa in 2013-14. I would imagine that like special circumstances would lead to that if you're playing the same club 3 times in a season. Hull City in 2008 were the last team to win consecutive games against Arsenal and Spurs. That's a huge stat. And again, also kind of maybe it has to be sort of sorted out that way. It probably isn't there isn't an opportunity for a team to do that every season, but the last time that was done was in 2008. So Brighton could break a decent record there. Norwich and Burnley are the only two teams that have scored fewer goals than Brighton this season, and that is a scary cold hard fact. Very, very cold that fact was, because I'll take it a step further. Watford have scored more goals than Brighton so far this season. I think they've scored like a total of 28 or something in the entire Premier League so far. They're not the Expelliarmus goals that they used to be. I think their XG standing is not even as good as it used to be last season as well. So they're not like the free flowing attacker, nowhere near as lethal as we probably expected them to be, which is kind of a common problem with Potter's sides, I must say. But let's move on to the head to head. All-time record versus Brighton for Spurs is 18 wins, 8 draws, 8 defeats. Last 5 fixtures against Brighton, we've won 2-0 away from home, won 3-1 at home, lost 1-0 away from home, won 2-1 at home, and then 1-2-1 again in 2019 at home. Conte's record versus Brighton: 4 wins, 0 draws, 0 defeats. I think 2 wins have come from this season, and the other 2 came during his years at Chelsea. Conte's record versus Potter: 2 wins, 0 draws, 0 defeats. And then Potter's record versus Tottenham is 2 wins, 0 draws, and 4 defeats. So you could probably say Graham Potter isn't actually the worst of managers. Like I think we saw Eddie Howe had a pretty atrocious record against us. So you could say that Potter's not really the worst, not really the best against us, but has gotten some good defeats against us. So definitely should be wary. Definitely should be wary, and he might learn from his mistakes last time against Conte as well. Bringing up the Brighton lineup here, it's so hard, everybody, to predict their lineups. They do a different formation, a different shape. I swear, like every week. Even when you look back at all their fixtures and everything, it's just like they chop and change personnel. They switch lineups all the time. It's just they're probably the least consistent lineup, I would probably say, maybe in the Premier League. I swear it's always a different lineup every time. And over that really bad spell where I think they had 6 defeats and 1 draw over 7 games, they were kind of actually consistently playing versions of a back four. But that game against Arsenal, where they were able to kind of break that bad run of form, they did go for a 3-5-2. So perhaps they'll do that again, because when they did lose to us last time out, when Graham Potter was defeated by Conte, he kept going for a 4 in the back, if I recall. I think he did a 4-2-3-1 last time out. Really didn't work out. So maybe he might go for something different. I would imagine he'd go for something different. It seems like that's the type of guy Potter is. Doesn't seem to try to do things twice. Sanchez, decent goalkeeper in goal. Veltman, of course, Lewis Dunk, and then Cucurella. Cucurella, unbelievable player. We'll talk about him later. But he has been playing as a left-sided center back more of recent. Maybe it's because Shane Duffy isn't as comfortable in a back three. Perhaps Adam Webster as well is just not favored anymore. He used to play a lot for them, just hasn't been playing very much for them this season. And so it seems like Cucurella, being also a left-footed player, maybe just suits that left-sided center back role better than others. And he is not bad defensively, and we will look into that later. Good stats on him. But also joined by, maybe if they were to do the 3-5-2, instead of doing Trossard last time out, I think they did Trossard as a wide wing back. I do imagine them maybe going for Marsh, just so that they don't get exposed as much. It seems a bit risky to maybe go for Trossard out wide. I could see it happen again, but maybe they'll go for Marsh out there and then just kind of have, decent solidity over there with those two. And Mwepu, really good performance against Arsenal. Really good player there. I think Zambian international as well. Basuma, McAllister, Argentinian international. Decent player, actually, has a good free kick on him. So I would say free kick situations, that's their danger man. Tarek Lamptey, of course, really good bombing wingback. He hasn't been playing or starting too much of recent. So again, like another thing, like while Tarek Lamptey is so highly rated, not actually played as many minutes as you probably would think this season. Mopai, of course, up front. Trossard as well joining him. It could be Welbeck. I don't see Trossard being dropped after that performance last time out. He could be playing the wing back, or he could be playing up front. Could also play like behind the strikers. Maybe they do Mopai and Welbeck, and then they do like a 3-4-1-2. I could see that happening, but it's really hard, everybody, to predict Brighton's formation. So let me know what you think you expect them to line up with tomorrow. The unsung hero is going to be Trossard. Tied for the second most goal contributions with 6, 5 goals and 1 assist, most passes into the penalty area, most shot creating actions, most goal creating actions, most carries into the penalty area, and the most players dribble pass in the entire Brighton squad. So those stats, what you really kind of draw from that, just an extraordinarily creative player for them. I would say Trossard, he's always been kind of under. Is he over? I don't know. Like people call him overrated. Some people call him underrated. People just think he's rated. I feel like he's probably rated. I think I don't know if he's flown under the radar or anything as that type of player, but I would say like the one key asset that I would take from this is that he is an exceptional dribbler. Those carries into the penalty area match with those players dribble pass shows that he is he's very very good on the ball, very good on the ball. When it comes to taking on his man, and then he creates a few chances as well, as you saw by him having the most chances created as well in the squad, most pass into the penalty area, all those sort of stats that you would see in the creative player. So the guy that will be kind of making the team kind of sink in those final thirds, maybe play that dangerous pass, maybe make that opening. It could be Trossard out of anybody else. I do expect it to be him. The key player though is Cucurella. A baller. What a baller. I think this guy is. I really kind of I remember him at his days in Getafe. He was kind of widely rated, especially for the football hipsters. A lot of people were saying, wow, this guy's just a real talent. And I wish we kind of went for him, but it kind of makes sense. It was a very kind of risky sort of move. Very, you had to really know your stuff to make that, and it's always a risk. But he has adapted to the Premier League well. The guy just bombs up and down the pitch. I feel like he's just, I don't know, he's exceptional. I think he is exceptional. He just gets stuck in, gets up and down the pitch really well. He's just a bombing wingback, and you can see these stats right here. The fact that he has the most tackles and interceptions combined in the entire Brighton squad. Maybe that's more a Potter system that contributes to that, but it also could just be he's that aggressive and he's that good at reading the game. He has the most tackles won, the most interceptions in the entire squad. So he has been the guy getting stuck in the most. If he's not probably not their best defender, but he is showing that he can get stuck in for them. Most passes completed under pressure. It's not a surprise. He's very good in tight areas. Second most passes completed under pressure. Bit of a typo there. Do apologize. Third most shot creating actions, most progressive carries, most switches of play. The most switches of play, I think, is very impressive. And maybe that also, again, like it's easy to switch play in that Brighton system. But again, like I think Cucurella is an exceptional player at when it comes to everything kind of building, the building up the attack. And then also the progressive carries, very good ball carrier, really good on the ball. And I'm actually bit disappointed. Maybe if he played wingback more often, he would have more players dribble pass, but he is really good at taking on his man as well. So Cucurella, I would say probably Brighton's best player, in my opinion. I think he is their most talented player, probably their most valuable player. I would actually take him over Tariq Lamptey. I know different positions and whatnot, but I just think he's a better player, actually a better fullback than Tariq Lamptey is. But how do Brighton attack? Let's go into it. A bit of Cucurella creativity. This one is just kind of like showing what he would do in that sort of left-sided center back role. I expect him to make runs kind of like Ben Davies does, where he kind of makes these inverted runs kind of through the middle of the pitch just to be able to kind of cause overloads and whatnot. And so what I expect him to do though is that when he picks up the ball in that area, he won't panic. He actually probably might take on a few players. So that's what I actually try to make him do here is that he does take on Romero, does skip past Højbjerg, and then plays a slip through ball into Mopai, and he's able to put it away. So Cucurella, I would say probably if he's playing left-sided center back, won't be as dangerous as you know Brighton usually expect him to be, and he will be playing more of a reserved role. But I don't know. No matter where he plays on that pitch, I say that guy is a good player, and even from a left-sided center back position, I could see him creating things. I'm not kidding. That's how much I do actually rate the guy. But let me know what you think. Is he their best player over at Brighton? Do let me know. Mopai poaching. He's definitely a poacher, and he misses a lot of sitters. I don't think I need to go into this one too much. I feel like he's probably the least likely of the threats for maybe Brighton. But you could see him, just making an intelligent movement, across the box, losing his marker, and then just kind of tapping something home, kind of scrappily. I feel like he is that sort of player. I've seen him miss extraordinary sitters, and then I've seen him have extraordinary finishes. He's just one of those players. And I feel like a lot of Brighton guys are kind of like that, where they'll have an exceptional finish, in one game, and then the next day they just can't even hit the barn door. So Mopai, am I afraid of him? Definitely not. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just pops up with a goal sometimes. Like he really is that sort of player for me. But let me know what you think. Like, how is he a poacher? How much do you rate him? Let me know, everybody. Do let me know. Tricky Trossard. He is very tricky, I must say. So that's why I'm trying to highlight maybe here is just with that dribbling that we were kind of showing earlier with those stats. That's why I'm just basically trying to show here. McAllister kind of picks up the ball deep, is able to find Trossard. Trossard drops so deep that Romero doesn't even follow him, and then he's able to turn. From there, he actually, I know it seems unrealistic, but, takes on Romero, skips past him, plays a nice little 1-2 with Marsh, able to do another 1-2 with Mopai, and then able to put in a nice finish into the back post. I could see him. I'd say probably if Cucurella is playing in the left sided center back, Trossard's probably their biggest threat, I would say. And he can be a tricky player and he can be a tricky customer and he has good ball carrying ability. He has good, he has the knack to be able to skim past a player like we saw against Arsenal, can hit a banger as well. So I would say Trossard in decent form right now. And you could see him setting up other players as well. So it's certainly is like a very valid threat. How do Brighton defend? This is kind of thing that I feel like I'm just going to go off screen for this part. Brighton defend kind of more like a progressive sort of side. They do obviously kind of press teams. I think at one stage when it came to, I believe it was passes, that stat where it's like passes allowed in the opposition half per defensive action. So the amount of passes you allow before you make a defensive action in the opposition half. I think it was something like Brighton were third or fourth or even fifth, I think, at some stage for a long time in this Premier League season. And they were kind of close high up there last season as well. They're one of the better pressing sides in the entire league. They're kind of behind Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, but they, for a team that, is certainly nowhere near as talented, they do make up for it with really hardworking players. They just try to force you to make mistakes. They try to make you make dangerous passage, and they just try to take advantage of that. And considering that most of their players aren't very good at creating chances, I would say, for themselves, it does make sense that, that's their sort of system, if you ask me, because if they can create chances from just mistakes, maybe someone loses the ball in the final third, the opposition final third, they don't have to carry the ball as long in order to score. They just have to play two or three passes and try to take advantage of it. So that is sometimes the benefit of maybe that sort of pressing style is maybe when you're a team that would struggle to really build out the back and struggle to really create chances, from uh just from, kind of nothingness. It seems like, with a team like Brighton, why they maybe press so much. It's just because it allows them to create more chances. And maybe that's why their XG sometimes is higher than it would appear. But I think even this season, their XG is nowhere near as good. So I've been told. But do let me know what you think of that Brighton defense. I think just the main attribute is just that they try to force mistakes. I think that's just really what it is. How can Spurs win this game? Let's go into the predicted lineup. I think it's quite obvious. Doherty out for the season. Skip potentially out for the season. Reguilon I see playing over Sessegnon just because this is a game where I think we need someone a bit better going forward. I see Sessegnon maybe playing against Liverpool or maybe even Arsenal, to be honest, especially in the more defensively needed games. But when we do need a better bombing wingback, I think Reguilon is our guy. Especially, he could probably pin back Lamptey as well, being that he kind of plays, the left winger at times, Reguilon, because Son fills through the middle, which means that Reguilon has to kind of keep the width so that, the fullback or even the opposition center back doesn't really cheat and, kind of move towards Sonny. They have to keep them honest. So Reguilon keeps that width as kind of almost a left winger, at times. So I could see him actually causing Tarek Lamptey some trouble and probably more trouble than probably Sessegnon would cause him, in my belief. That's just my opinion, though. Unsung hero. It's always going to be Højbjerg, especially when I'm alone. On this one, it's definitely going to be Højbjerg. Most tackles and interceptions combined, not a surprise. Most successful pressures, not a surprise. Third most shot creating actions, though, behind Sonny and Kane. So third most chances created, or third most actions contributing to a chance, you could say, in the team. But most switches of play, most progressive passes, most passes completed under pressure. I think that kind of takes away, those stats show it takes away from that narrative that Højbjerg might be a bit of a sideways passer, a bit of kind of a safety first sort of man. It shows that, he is, I know he plays a lot more minutes than most players, but it just shows that the fact that he is dominating and leading in those stats when it comes to kind of progressive passing and, playing the ball more direct. I think that just kind of takes away from, or maybe kind of, I don't know, denies that narrative that Hoiberg is a sideways passer, someone that, plays a bit too safe at times. Because if he's able to switch play more than anybody else, if he's able to have the third most shot creating actions, most progressive passes, that shows he is like a direct player. And I feel like we've forgotten a lot of really good Hoiberg passes this season. The Leeds one was an unbelievable pass to Harry Kane. What else was there? I believe that was that one actually for Leicester City. He played that one to Doherty, which led to the Bergwijn goal. That one against Newcastle in the beginning of the season. That was Harry Kane's first goal. Then he had another few others, and I'm now actually forgetting that were absolute dimes. Leeds, he had a really good pass, I remember, against Leeds as well. So do let me, I think Hoiberg, just a beast, but let me know if you remember those passes that I'm talking about, because absolute dimes that I feel like people are forgetting about. Sonny, key player. I mean, obviously, most goal contributions, 23, most non-penalty goals in the Premier League, more than Salah. More non-penalty goals than Salah. I believe Salah scored 5 penalties so far this season, so that would drop him down from 19, I think, to 14. And then with Sonny not being a penalty taker, you could make that argument, Sonny fans. He's actually scored more difficult goals than Salah has this season. Most key passes completed, which is pass that leads to a chance. Most shot creating actions. We've already explained that earlier. Most carries into the penalty area, and second most shots on target. The most carries into the penalty area is exactly what we love about Sonny. He plays direct. He's very aggressive. He wants to get that ball into the box so that he can cause danger. He's not going to, sit around on the ball, just kind of be lazy with it. He's going to be direct, and he's going to try to take you on. And he plays so dynamic, and he's fearless, which is what we love about Sonny. And then as well, the second most shots on target with 35. But when you think about it, right, 17 goals in the Premier League, 35 shots on target so far in the Premier League. He has about 2.5 shots, I think, per 90 on target. So that shows that he is deadly. That is deadly, because I think Harry Kane has triple or something like that, maybe the shots on target, if I'm not mistaken, than Sonny this season. But it just shows that Sonny has been ruthless when given the chances. I know he's given maybe more one-on-one chances than Harry Kane does, but still, like, that guy is just brutal in front of goal. Sonny is. So at that 35 shots on target with 17 goals, I think that's a incredible stat. To let me know, everybody, though. How do Spurs attack? Let's go into the Spurs animations. Kane through the lines. This is me kind of trying to find a way for Harry Kane to kick another Coke bottle into the stands, here. What basically happens is we're trying to build, trying to build out the back, and Harry Kane, like he usually does, and then they go celebrate off in the corner. But Harry Kane, like he usually does, would try to drop deep in these sort of situations so that he can find Sonny, right? But in this time around, I'm going to say that Harry Kane maybe fools Lewis Dunk, where Lewis Dunk, starts to kind of draw towards Harry Kane, thinking he is going to pick up this kind of pass that he would, kind of like against Aston Villa, that he would, get that, direct ball to Harry Kane. Harry Kane hits it to Sonny, like we did against Villa. But this time around, Harry Kane spins Lewis Dunk or catches him off guard, and then Romero plays that same pass that he did last time. It's just a bit more over the top. Harry Kane is able to pick it up, take a touch or two, and then just slide it across the six for Sonny to be able to catch up with Salah for the top goal scorer. I think this goal could easily happen, and I actually see Harry Kane doing this more than once, because with Lewis Dunk, maybe not the quickest. Also, Cucurella might have a lot to deal with Kulusevski. You could actually see Harry Kane, instead of always dropping deep, maybe see him make a few runs in behind and, be through on goal. Let me know if you think that will happen tomorrow. But moving on to Sonny's perfect runs, I mean, they're just absolutely gorgeous, those runs, I would say. But this one, again, I think we've seen it 1,000 times before. It's pretty much Sonny starts drifting over to the left, moves from that center position over to the left. Harry Kane follows him. And what happens here is that Sonny, instead of kind of dwelling on the ball here, he sees that Harry Kane is close to him. So what do? You play that one touch with Harry Kane. Harry Kane from there plays that outside the boot through pass to Sonny in behind. Sexy pass, that is. And then Sonny, being the ruthless finisher and mercenary that he is, puts it away. Let me know if you think how realistic this is. I think it's that sort of combination that we see lots of times with Sonny and Harry Kane. Sometimes the passes that Harry Kane will play into Son are probably a bit longer, a bit more over the top, a bit more threaded through balls, where this one is kind of a bit more closer link up play. Maybe that could be a bit unrealistic, but I do see these guys, obviously playing off of each other a lot. So do let me know what you think of that sort of animation there. We move on to the last one, and it's Kulu just being Kulu. Like last time, Kulu just doing Kulu things. Kulu in this situation, kind of getting, a bit pressured here by Brighton. McAllister takes it past Bentancur, puts a really good ball into the back post, but Emerson wins it here. And we're going to let, Kulusevski go on a bit of an Arjen Robben kind of run here, where he's just dribbling off to the left, skins Basuma originally, kind of cuts it inside right as they're about to tackle and plays it off Harry Kane, and then is able to skin past Marsh, take it across the 18, Arjen Robben style, and then bang it home. Let me know what you think of that one, guys, because Kulusevski, he had that exceptional goal against Villa and Tyrone Mings. That was so clutch. I could see him getting a goal like this. That would also be really, really clutch when we need it. Maybe he could even open the scoring. He seems like that sort of guy where he might open the scoring. But as well, I want to see this sort of goal from him where he just fakes everybody out, cuts inside across the 18, and just curls one in. That just sounds like an absolute gorgeous goal that you could see happening. And also, I mean, he's done that move before, but then he went for the near post, kind of fooled the keepers. So we have seen him kind of go for, this sort of move before. And when Kulusevski is on that left foot and cutting inside, he is so tricky with those body feints. But moving on to the players to target. I apologize. I made this graphic before I found out that Shane Duffy was hurt because the press conference came out a bit late. So let me know who you would target instead of Shane Duffy. Would you target Cucurella? Potentially, he's not very good in the air, I would imagine. He's quite short, but he does have a lot of tackles and interceptions. Maybe he's not the worst defensively, but you could target him. Lewis Dunk, I think you could target just because I feel like he's probably the slowest of the back three and will be in the middle of that back three if they do go for that. And he probably could get distracted by some of the moves that Harry Kane makes because he might follow him too far, which then would make Sonny, be able to run in behind through the middle. So you could see Lewis Dunk being taken out of position and being a bit confused by some of the movement up the front three. Tariq Lamptey, great player. I just feel like defensively, not nearly as good as he is going forward. So if he does start on the right wing back with Reguilon and Sonny sort of on that side, I would like to see him being put under a lot of pressure and see him, really struggle because I don't want to see Tariq Lamptey have lots of the ball. I want to see him, being kind of really sweating under the pressure that Reguilon would give him. Like I said, Reguilon, he's supposed to keep that width and stay really high up the pitch when Sonny moves through the middle. And so what we need there is that means that Reguilon, if he does that, Tariq Lamptey more or less has to come with him. And so hopefully that, kind of takes him out of the game. Let me know if you think of that logic where if we do kind of let Reguilon continue to keep that width high up the pitch, that would make Tariq Lamptey have to make the decision whether to track him or whether to take that risk and someone plays that ball behind for him. The key battles here, Emerson versus Cucurella. Uh, Cucurella, really good player, especially if he plays wingback tomorrow. I could see him causing him trouble. Trossard might be on that left wingback side as well. So whoever is playing left back and whoever is playing some version of a winger on that left-hand side tomorrow, Emerson will have, a lot to deal with because I think probably their most creative side is their left-hand side. Brighton, I might argue with Cucurella, Trossard, other players, even Marsh that they can put out there. They have a few decent players they can put out wide on the left. So Emerson will have some, will have some challenges, and especially these sort of players that he's coming up against, like Cucurella, potentially not really someone that's going to beat you with athleticism every time. He's going to beat you with intelligence. He's going to beat you with creativity, kind of decisive movements and whatnot. And Emerson might struggle with that, but hopefully he has a good game. And I want to see him get that back post header as well, from maybe a regular cross so he can finish at home. That's what we want to see. Key battles. Apologies again for keeping Shane Duffy in there. But the reason I kind of kept him in there was just because I thought he was going to be available. And then from set pieces, I could see them being very dangerous because you look at Brighton before, they were like kind of the West Ham to a degree in terms of really scary guys from corners. They had Shane Duffy, who's absolutely massive, Lewis Dunk, who's massive, Adam Webster is massive. And then before they had Dan Burn, who's also just an absolute giant. So with maybe Shane Duffy not available, the only threat they may now have from set pieces is Lewis Dunk. So I feel like now this sort of key battle is null and void. So a bit of a mistake on my part. I do apologize. And the last one here, Pierre Højbjerg and Lolo Bentancur against Mwepu, great player, Basuma, and Pascal Gross. The only reason I have this here is maybe this could be another example of the midfield getting a bit overwhelmed. Those are all kind of ball-playing midfielders as well, those three Brighton players. So maybe we might struggle to get the ball off of them, or we could have, a plenty easy day in the park. I feel like it's not the hardest midfield test they've come across recently, so I feel like they should be fine. But Mwepu did have an exceptional game. Basuma is capable of exceptional games against us. Pascal Gross, I just kind of like him also. He has the most furrowed eyebrows I've ever seen in my life. But the guy always looks so serious whenever he plays. But they're also very kind of like athletic, I would say, midfielders, maybe apart from Pascal Gross. But they could also put Lallana in there, who's also an athletic kind of midfielder. So watch out for those midfielders, maybe causing a bit of pressure on Højbjerg and Bentancur, where they might not give them a lot of space or time to be able to handle the ball and turn. So that could potentially happen tomorrow, where that midfield kind of overwhelms us with a bit of pressure and a bit of kind of high intensity that maybe kind of takes Højbjerg and Bentancur out of the development of the play. But that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Do hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, big apologies for deleting the last one and while you guys are in the middle of watching it. I just noticed that while I was watching it, that the images weren't up on screen. So I was talking about Højbjerg, I was talking about Cucurella and everything, and there was just no images. So I just looked like a crazy person talking to you with nothing to show on screen. So I had to redo this one. Hopefully this take was a bit better. Did like the first one, I'll be honest, but hopefully you enjoyed this one. Hit that like button on your way out. And as always, I will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs, and in Conte we trust. Everywhere we go.